This video is made by Lazy to Read. You can do you own in just few minutes. The only technical skills you need as an engineering manager. My grandfather, a radio engineer, was one of the best technical minds I have ever known. Back in the 1980s, many people used the ZX Spectrum. It was the hot thing. Unfortunately, you couldn't buy them where we lived. But my grandfather had the foresight to realize how important computers would be, and he was determined that I become knowledgeable about them. So what did he do? He decided to build one himself. He found old broken TVs, took them apart, and separated their components. Then, he figured out how to assemble a computer from the spare parts. I still remember watching him with absolute fascination as he put everything together. And nobody was telling him what to do or how to do it. He had no complete instructions, manuals, or a list of needed materials. What he did have was a high-level technical ability and pieces of knowledge he had to collect and put together. As a result, he was able to take a concept, decompose it, experiment, build, and correct mistakes until he made a functioning computer at home. He was still a dedicated radio engineer, though. When I asked if he was happy to have his own computer, he responded, "What do I want with a computer? I'm a radio guy." But the work was a fun project for his technical mind, and I was over the moon about it. Seeing him do that work also allowed me to see just how valuable having such a mind can be. A technical mind. For me, having this technical mind is the most crucial technical skill you need to be a successful engineering manager. The ability to take any situation, decompose it, separate the small parts, fix any problems, build new parts, and then put it all back together again is the greatest asset you can have. Imagine you come home one day and find that your key won't turn in the lock. A technical mind doesn't panic or force the issue. Instead, they'll approach the problem from various angles. First, they'll think about how the lock works, about its pins, tumblers, springs, and key that need exact alignment. Then, they'll consider if the lock is moving or jammed. They may realize the temperature is low, so they'll consider if the metal is too cold and contracted. If so, they'll work out a solution, such as applying hot water, knowing the metal will expand with the increase in temperature. And if that doesn't work, they will consider alternative solutions. For example, they head to the garage, grab a ladder, and use it to access an open window. The point is, they persist in finding a solution, even if it doesn't seem obvious at first. And this comprehensive and methodical problem-solving approach is one of the best parts of your technical skill set. Of course, it's also important to know other low-level specifics, but you can never be well-versed in every area. This is when you utilize your team and rely on the help of other skilled individuals to fill in the gaps. Tech stack knowledge. That said, there are some other practical and technical skills you need to be a successful engineering manager. Some might seem obvious, but it is worth covering the bases. First, you need to be proficient with the language, frameworks, libraries, best practices, and technologies your team is using. For example, if your team is using Nest.js, React Native, Molecular, Kafka, and so on, and they use DDD and DI approaches, you need proficiency in those areas. You'll have a more difficult time running a Node.js React team if you come from the world of Python Vue. You'll need to relearn many things. Understanding of the process. Again, while obvious, I want to emphasize the fact that you need a solid understanding of the software and product development processes. After all, you've been immersed in the industry for years, so you need to know how it works. As an engineer, you could get away with not because all you had to do was complete the work assigned to you. No easy job, but you didn't have to consider why you were being given that particular task at that particular time, although you may have anyway. That's just how it's done, as many say. But as an engineering manager, you need to know. Even though you aren't assigning the work, you have to be aware of the purpose behind every decision, especially when those decisions change or go wrong, and everyone needs to adjust. You need to be able to lead your team through those adjustments and explain the reasoning behind them so they feel comfortable to perform at their best. Architecture knowledge. Having a deep understanding of infrastructure and architecture is beneficial as well. Often, you'll be working with a team of people who are so focused on their specific tasks that they're unable to step back and examine the bigger picture. In some ways, this is useful because they can give their full attention to their work, but you need to step in to fill the gaps. Think of this like managing a fleet of delivery drivers. You're the dispatcher, so your job is ensuring operations run smoothly. You look at the map, identify optimal routes, account for roadworks, check the weather forecast, and predict where traffic will be. Then you plan the logistics accordingly. This requires technical strategy, technical understanding, and forecasting. As an EM, you need to have a broad perspective, connect the individual tasks, provide precise technical guidance, and coordinate everything to ensure smooth workflows. Technical communication proficiency. This is a twofold skill. You need to have enough proficiency to properly communicate with your team, understand the problems they're bringing to your attention, and provide them with clear technical direction. This is crucial for a manager of a well-functioning team. Working with someone who talks well but possesses only a superficial technical understanding leads to countless problems, one of which is loss of the team's respect. There's another side to this skill too. It's the ability to translate complex technical concepts into layman's terms. As an EM, you're going to engage with a diverse group of people who don't have technical backgrounds, such as project and product managers, stakeholders, and other non-technical people. So, you need to be able to convey the technical language, ideas, and processes in ways they can understand, digest, and make informed decisions about. The tasks may not seem important, but these people are key decision makers in everyday work, so don't overlook them. A curious mind. Lastly, you need to maintain your technical curiosity. To me, this trait is closely linked to having a technical mind, because technical people seek to understand how things work beneath the surface, driving them to experiment and learn. Continue leaning into this characteristic. Stay up to date with industry trends and emerging technologies. Keep being curious, conducting research, and exploring what's new in the industry. While you might not be doing the hands-on work yourself, you can encourage your team to experiment, learn, implement, and share their findings with and for you. With this approach, you'll stay actively engaged, informed, and technically relevant. The short version: your technical mind is your biggest asset. While the EM role mostly requires people skills, it also requires several key technical ones. These include the following: having high-level problem-solving abilities, knowing the tech stack, understanding software and product development, knowing the architecture, being articulate with technical communication for both technical and non-technical players, having a curious mind. You also need to be deeply aware of how your team works, the tools they use, and their approaches, because much of your technical insight in your new role will come through them. But for me, it's the technical approach that's even more important than knowing the list of skills you need. The high-level analytical thinking that allows you to decompose any kind of problem or situation, take it apart, look at the smallest parts, find creative solutions, and then put it all back together. This is an invaluable technical skill, and it will set you apart as an exceptional EM. Want more tips on leading effective software engineering teams? If you found this content helpful, scan the QR code to join the author's newsletter and stay updated. You can also catch the author on medium.com. Be sure to check out the original article and share your thoughts in the comments.